The new COVID variant is yet another hurdle in an otherwise decidedly busy time in Washington. The Senate set to return tomorrow, the House on Tuesday. Lawmakers have just a few days to avert a government shutdown and a little more than 2 weeks to raise the limit on borrowing or default for the first time in the nation's history, while Democrats face their own self-imposed year-end deadline to pass the president's Build Back Better plan with likely no Republican support. With us now from Wyoming, the number 3 Republican in the Senate, John Barrasso. He is a senator. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday, sir. We've got a lot of politics to talk about. As we said, you know, you're going back to work tomorrow. The House comes back on Tuesday. But very quickly, a lot of breaking news on this Omicron variant. You're a medical doctor as well, Senator Barrasso. Give us your quick take. Are you concerned about this new variant coming possibly, maybe already here in the United States?
Well, you know, as a doctor, I am pro-vaccine and I'm anti the mandate. Vaccines work. We have a new variant. There's going to continue to be new variants in the future. Medicines are better now than they have been. But I think the president was wrong with his mandate. I think it was a monumental overreach. And I think it's actually hardened people against the vaccine. And the president has divided the country because of the mandate. Now you have a couple of governors saying, oh, 2 shots isn't enough. Now you have to have 3. The things that are interesting about this, the last guest just talked about the inflation that we have. We have 10 million job openings in this country, and yet the president with his mandate wants to fire people who have been going to work every day since the pandemic started. People who may not want to get the vaccine, police officers, firefighters, nurses, border patrol. So that's one part of it. The other is Joe Biden ran for office, basically hiding in his basement, saying he could protect America from COVID. Well, he didn't, he can't, and more people have died of COVID under President Biden than did in all of 2020.
And we are going to talk about that coming up with the panel. Meantime, the Build Back Better bill, you got a lot of stuff going on this week up on the Hill. Senator, what's the status of that? Where do you think it's going? Is it now time to inject trillions of dollars back into the economy?
No, we have record inflation right now. I view this as a back-breaking bill for the country, with the kind of expenses, the spending, the adding to the debt, the inflation, the taxes that are going to hit the American people. And, you know, for Joe Biden to say we have to spend even more money on top of inflation, I mean, to me, this is Alice in Wonderland logic. He's the Mad Hatter out here. He continues to try to mislead the American people, first saying the cost will be zero, 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 when the budget analysts have said it's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars added to the debt. People's taxes are going to go up. He said, oh, no, only if you make over $400,000 a year. That's not what the tax experts are telling us. They say 1 out of 3 middle-class Americans will pay more in taxes. So on all of these issues and inflation across the board, people saying we're looking at persistent inflation. We cannot ignore inflation. That is the thing that's going to hurt our economy the most.
You talk about Republicans, they're against the Build Back Better thing. They're also against raising the debt limit. Mitch McConnell said it would just enable Democratic spending. But the Wall Street Journal says, and I'm quoting here, sir, a vote to raise the debt limit doesn't authorize new spending, but it's essentially, it allows the Treasury to raise money to pay for expenses the government has already authorized. So this is to pay for things already authorized. And it's important to point out, in your state alone, this is paying for things like almost 30,000 people getting SNAP benefits. Of course, that's food benefits. 33,000 students eligible for free or reduced school lunches. So a lot of benefits from this to your state, Senator. Why are you against it?
Well, in my state, I was a member of the state Senate. Our Constitution demands that we balance our budget every year, that we live within our means, just like families all across America need to do. And I think the federal government ought to do the same thing. This is all about Democrat spending. This is 100% on them. If you get rid of all of the gimmicks of accounting, this bill that the Democrats are proposing is $4 trillion in additional spending. There's not a single Republican who's going to vote for the bill or to raise the debt ceiling. This is on the Democrats.
You know, you are also the ranking member of the Energy Committee, and I want to put this up on the thing, the food, gas, electricity prices. We've seen this, and we talked about this with Dr. El-Arian. You know, the fact that food is up, gas is up 49.6%, electricity 6.5%. We're not even at the coldest part of the winter, Senator. It's going to get bad for a lot of families. It's going to get very expensive. You have the president putting 50 million barrels of oil from the reserves back on the market, maybe hit the market sometime mid-December. But on the other hand, the president is also making it more expensive to drill on federal lands. Sir, how do you square the two?
It can't be squared. The president isn't able to do this. Look, today is one of the busiest travel days in America, and as people are hitting the road, gas prices are hitting the roof. Day one in the White House, the president drew a target on the back of American energy, pulled the trigger. And now with this strategic petroleum reserve, what he's doing is basically trying to put a little Band-Aid on that bullet hole. The strategic petroleum reserve is there for emergencies, national emergencies, war, not to cover over bad policies. The amount that he's releasing is equal to what we use in this country in just 2.5 days. And today in America, we're using more oil from Russia, from Vladimir Putin's Russia, than we are from Alaska. This is a jackpot for Vladimir Putin. And we have this oil in the ground. The president and the environmental movement will not let us use American oil. So President Biden is going hand in hand to OPEC and to Russia, saying, please produce more oil so we can buy it from you. This is a disaster. It's a major policy mistake. We need to be using American energy.
And as you get to work back on Capitol Hill this week, sir, what's the remedy from the Republicans? What's the remedy for this? If the president's leads here, if the president's moves are not the elixir, what is it? What do we do to get gas prices down? What do we do to get energy prices down and stabilized before we move into winter?
Yes. We use American energy. We stop the bans that this administration has on energy. You know, Senator Manchin, who's the ranking member who's the chairman of the Energy Committee, in which I'm the ranking member, said, let's get the Keystone Pipeline going. There's lots. We have the resources here. We are much stronger as a nation if we are selling energy to our friends than if we have to buy it from our enemies. Look, I just got back from the Persian Gulf. Spent Thanksgiving there with the Wyoming troops and talking to military leaders. After what happened in Afghanistan and the disaster of the withdrawal, our enemies are much more aggressive, and to be giving a jackpot of additional money to Vladimir Putin is really in the long-term detriment of the United States.
You talk about the Persian Gulf. What are they saying about the American energy policies? I mean, you know, the president has gone to OPEC saying, hey, we need to open the spigots a little bit and get some more oil on the market. What are they saying? I mean, they've been hesitant to do that. What's the word over there? Is there this belief that maybe the United States should be doing more to help itself?
Well, we ought to be doing more to help ourselves. It's incumbent upon us to do that. There are ways that we can protect the environment without punishing the economy. I don't know that the Democrats understand that major concept. But what I saw in the Persian Gulf was a much more aggressive Iran. Also, we're seeing it with communist China. We're seeing it with Vladimir Putin. We're seeing it with North Korea. And you talked about all the things that we haven't done yet in Congress. This National Defense Authorization Act, this should have been passed months ago, but it's been on the back burner for Joe Biden and for Chuck Schumer. We never want to send our men and women in uniform into a fair fight. We want to make sure that they have strength, can project strength. We want to make sure they have the equipment, the manpower, the firepower that they need. And this administration not just is wrong on energy, they have been very weak. This president has been weak on national defense because when he came into office, his first budget basically supersized government on everything except for two areas where we didn't even keep up with inflation. One was defense, the other was homeland security. Our nation deserves better.
You make a very good point on the National Defense Authorization Act, because now you have, Russian troops amassing at the Ukrainian border. You have China with threatening language toward Taiwan, and yet the window is narrowing to get this done. I mean, it's been passed 60 years in a row. We're assuming that Congress will move heaven and earth to get it passed, but the window is narrowing. How do you get this thing done quickly?
You're right. The window is narrowing because we have that. The government runs out of money this Friday. We have the debt ceiling, as you mentioned, and Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer want to pass this massive tax and spending bill by Christmas. We have an entire Republican conference who wants to do everything we can to defeat it. I think the best Christmas present for the American people would be to block these increased taxes, block this bill that causes more inflation. And the more people know what's in this bill, the worse it becomes, because people really don't like so many of the things that are in this bill, which is going to raise taxes and increase inflation.
Senator John Barrasso, Dr. Barrasso, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Trace.